Alright, so last time I did this, I made a review of the game Trespass and all of its chapters. This time we're doing Tree Yard, which is another. It's a very. It's not very popular. Only some people know of it. I was like, I could barely even find any like proper YouTube videos on it, or any I couldn't even find any Google images to help put the video together. But that's okay. I'll just put a picture of a fucking tree or something just on the screen randomly. But no. Also, I realized the quality of my voice sounded hella weird last time. Like, it sounded like I was just like all up in the mic making super loud noise. You know, like, I don't want that to be like that the whole video, so I'm just gonna try speaking with the mic just sitting on my desk with at least a foot away from me, and we'll see how that turns out. Hopefully it doesn't end up too quiet or whatever. I mean, it's not even, a lot of people aren't even going to see this, but unless I miraculously blow up randomly. But anyway, I'm rambling. So last time for Trespass I did in the order of which one I played first, which also happened to be the order from worst to best. I'm not going to do it this time. I'm just going to go in I'm going to name the game modes and then the order of the chapters, no matter which one I like more than the other. So it won't be worst to best or best to worst, you know? So, anyway. I'm gonna mention the first two game modes. Those are called the Save the Heart game mode and the Abandon game mode. And automatically, these game modes are super short, super glitchy and weird. You could, if you know what you're doing, you can finish it within 2 minutes probably. Both of them, arguably, you know? Especially if you're an expert at horror games or whatever. But these are it feels like someone told them or challenged them to make a game in 2 days or maybe 1 day, and then this is the best they came out with. They're so lazy and bad that, I just like I said, I don't know what the creator Virtumatic no, that's not the name. Virtumation, I think that's his name. Yeah, and the rest of his team. I just want to say, I'm not a hater. I'm just giving my honest opinion about it. Obviously, I've heard some things about Tree Yard possibly getting remade or whatever and re-released some way. Or they're working on another game entirely. Who knows? But, it's very confusing. I went to Virtumation's YouTube and I was trying to figure stuff out, look up some more information on what's going on with the game. But, it's like I said, it's not one of those super popular Roblox horror games, not like The Mimic or Doors or Rainbow Friends or any of those things that, or Periophobia, which I will get to those games eventually, I promise. But yeah, like I said before in another video, Mimic has a lot of content, so that's gonna take some time. But I'm still gonna do it. I promise. Just don't expect it to be the next video I put out, because it's not going to be. But anyway, yeah, like I said, the Save the Heart and the Abandon game modes are terrible. It doesn't even feel like an actual. It feels like someone just. It doesn't even feel like a complete game, It just feels like a sandbox or whatever. Yeah, they're even worse than the Christmas event for Trespass. Here I am still talking about it in the next video. But yeah, I'm just using it for reference. It's, like I said, the game modes, there's almost nothing good about them. They're not well made, put together. I guess the Save the Heart one has like decent music, but that's about it. And even then, it's like so out of place. Like that music, which is really good on its own, doesn't even fit with the game that it's put in. So it's like it doesn't help it really. I would just listen to that music on its own. But yeah, anyway, those game modes suck. All right. Now we are on to Chapter 1. And to be honest, Chapter 1 is fine. Personally, it's not as good as the first act of Trespass. But I actually don't know if it's better than the Christmas event for Trespass. That's debatable. But no. You know what? Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna have to think about that more. So there's not really much to say about the first chapter. It's kind of just, I don't know. It felt like this person, whoever made Triard, Virtumation, whoever he is, I don't know. It just feels kind of like it's considered a Mimic clone, which I can totally see. And I'm sure Virtumation is aware of it as well. But it really does feel like that here. It doesn't completely steal everything, or just, it doesn't use every single thing from Mimic and put its own spin on it. It's, there's something. It's not very unique, but it's, I don't know. It's just kind of there, there's not much to say about it. The character designs are decent. They're not like the most scary thing ever, but they're not scary. They're kind of, they're kind of scary. What else? The jump scares are fine. They're kind of scary, like I said before. I'd say the best part is probably the atmosphere, because there's some decent atmosphere that plays in the background, except for probably the last part with the circus music, although I guess that could be creepy in some ways. That one's debatable. I was getting the good stuff out of the way, because there's a little more bad stuff. First off, the game, or the first chapter, is it's too short. It's not as short as the game modes, which take a minute or 2 minutes to complete. Like it's not like that. It takes. Well, I feel like it would take about 10 minutes, in my opinion. If I played it right now, I could probably beat it in 10 minutes. But yeah, it's still kind of short. It's also the first part with the I don't know any of the characters' names. I don't really care to look that far, but the first part with the tree yard, the actual tree yard, which the game is named after. It's that part's super easy. Like the character moves like 3 miles an hour, like probably 2 miles. Like it's like going for a nice stroll. So it's like not even a threat, which makes the hiding spots completely like unneeded. What else? It's super easy. You just find a key and then you get to the door, and that's about it. And then the second part, in my opinion, I think my favorite part, it could either be the second or third part. The second part is a little too dark, though. The only light you have is your lantern or whatever light source you're using, and then the hiding spots, which are glowing pillars that you can walk through, and it like protects you or whatever. So it's yeah, I don't know. It's kind of it's kind of whatever. I like that there's 2 monsters instead of 1. It's interesting. Also, but right before you get into the second part, there's a little cutscene which attempts to tell it like a story, which is fairly interesting. However, I feel like after that they don't really delve into that story as much as it should have, or at least maybe it did, but it did it in a way that was like very I don't know, kind of like it forgot about it almost. And I guess this is a tad bit spoilerish for the rest of the chapters I'm going to talk about. But anyway, yeah, chapter 1 is okay. Yeah, what's it called? The third part could be my favorite. I actually kind of like the monsters there. I mean, their mechanics are simple. They just, if they see you, they chase you, and that's it. And to avoid them, you hide in these like boxes. But the layout is kind of bland. Or not the layout, the setting. It's just a bunch of walkways, separated by bars or whatever. It's very uninteresting, and you have to search around for tools like a shovel or a crowbar and a key. But instead of using the key on a door, you just put it on some sort of sacrificial, ritualistic table for some reason. And then I think you teleport to just the ending screen, which is kind of anticlimactic. But yeah, that's pretty much chapter 1 in my opinion. Yeah, it's just kind of okay, I'm still trying to figure out if I like it more than the Christmas event. I think I'm contemplating that because the Christmas event had more potential for trespass. I think it had more potential because you could see the hard work that was put into it. With Tree Yard Chapter 1, I feel like there wasn't that much work put into it, or at least not as much as it was in Trespass. Personally, that's just how I see it. I could, who knows how much. I mean, obviously, Virtumation, I don't think he has. I don't think he. I think he's a little younger, and he doesn't. He probably doesn't have as good of a setup or equipment used to create the game Triard. Like, clearly you can tell that games like Trespass or Mimic have like a higher quality, and that's due to them having a lot of success and everything. And you can tell that there was a lot of effort put into it, despite also having a really good budget and everything. I feel like Triard, the people working on it, they just don't have as much of a budget as some other Roblox games have. But yeah, that's pretty much chapter 1. I guess on to chapter 2. It's, to be fair, it's mostly the same. However, I do like it a little more. I'd say the first one being okay. The first chapter was kind of okay. This one is, this one's decent. What's it called? The monster designs in this one, I think, are cooler than all the others, in my opinion. Yeah, it's. I think one thing it doesn't do as well is the follow up on the story properly, but it pretty much, I think, does fine with everything else. Like, the atmosphere is a little better. The monster designs are cooler. The setting is more interesting. Like, in the first part of chapter 2, you end up in it looks like some sort of industrial building with like water leaking everywhere, and there's actually looks kind of like a subway, because I think there are trams or trains or whatever. However, the monster in that section is kind of eh. I mean, he looks decent, but like when his walking animation, when he walks sideways, which is weird. And also he glitches in the wall sometimes. And maybe I don't have the most recent maybe this game maybe Triard has been updated sometime and I don't know, but that from the last time I've seen it, from the last time I played it and seen someone play it, like, that's how it was for me and for them as well. So yeah, that's what I'm going off of. The second part of chapter 2 is probably my favorite. It kind of reminds me of the last part in chapter 2 of the Mimic with Sama in her maze, when you have to find the butterfly and open the door. It kind of reminds me of that part, except you're in a city and you have to hide from these two monsters from in like a building room. And it's cool. It's pretty run of the mill Mimic clone stuff, but it's cool. It's definitely more playable and more entertaining than probably the rest of the game. And then yeah, that's pretty much part 2. The last part is also kind of cool as well. First off, I like the monster in that one, and the animation and the sounds it make, and the jump scares. Probably the best jumps. That's probably the best monster in the whole game, to be fair. However, for that last part, there's only a few things I would change, like the stairs in that one section towards the very end. It's kind of like sometimes my character struggled to walk over it for some reason. I think it's just the faulty game design in that one part, but other than that, like it's put together better than the rest of the game. You know, overall, Chapter 2, in my opinion, is better than the rest, which I guess spoils what I think about Chapter 3 and 4. But yeah, yeah. Is there? Let me think. If there's anything else that I'm missing. I will say the what's it called? Throughout the game, the endings, like when you beat the last part, it's kind of anticlimactic. Like you just end up at either a blank room with some object or something in it, and it's kind of anticlimactic. And also your light source throughout the game isn't very good, in my opinion. Like it doesn't illuminate much, especially when you're in the darker areas, like the second part of Chapter 1 or the last part in Chapter 2, or the first part of Chapter 3, which we are getting into right now. Chapter 3, personally, I was very excited for Chapter 3 because, the first 2 chapters are the first ones that I've ever played from Treyarch. So, like, between Chapters 1 and 2, they were, slightly improving, And when I saw the picture for, like, the promo or whatever, and that, I saw that creepy face from the sun, I was kind of interested, I was expecting it to be better than the first 2 chapters. However, I was wrong. How do I say this? Chapter 3 is very disappointing. I would even go as far as to say that it's probably awful, or at least bad. It's either bad or awful. Or no, it's somewhere between disappointing, bad, and awful. Somewhere along those lines. Okay, the reason why. So for the first part of Chapter 3, it's super dark. The map, the maze or whatever, is very large. So it's very hard to tell where you're going sometimes. It's like the second part in Chapter 1, but even worse. And the monster that's there, like, since the maze is so large, there's a good chance you won't even run into the monster, which is, like, it's the point of the game to deal with those monsters, But, yeah, so you have to find, like, a crystal or whatever, and you bring it somewhere, and then it opens a door, I think. Yeah, so that's the first part. The only thing I liked about that first part is the ambiance or the atmosphere or whatever. Like, there's some, I could at least I can listen to that and, like, go to sleep or whatever. Or it is admittedly kind of creepy, the atmosphere, but it's completely ruined by the actual game that it's a part of, you know? Or not the whole game, just the chapter 3, you know? But yeah, anyway, once you get to chapter 2, you are in this area that looks sort of like the city, or at least like a downtown area of a city, but it doesn't look as good as the previous chapter, which is not good. So you end up in this like restaurant or bakery or whatever, and there's this chef dude and this girl, I think, and they're trying to you have to like get past them and get to this door or whatever. So that part it's not that difficult, and it's the same problem with chapter 3 part 1. It's very easy to beat that part and not even run into the monster. It's like it's weirdly, it's badly put together, honestly. Like this, as you keep playing chapter 3, just like the series, I feel like that's when the game really starts falling apart for me, is throughout chapter 3. And then you get to the last part of chapter 3. It is with the sun thing. I think it's called the centerpiece or whatever. That's the only, honestly, the monster, the concept for the monster centerpiece, the sun monster, it's a cool design. It's an interesting monster, like the way it's put together. However, I feel like the way it was done could have been better, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. And also the map, the area that you have to avoid it's so lazily put together and laid out. Like the map is literally the shape of the letter T, a capital T. You walk like in a straight line, then you turn either left or right, and then you pick up this, like, it looks like a cog, like a gear, and use it to open this wooden door somehow, like that's supposed to make sense, instead of just using a key, like, whatever. Anyway, to avoid the monster, since the map is just a hallway, you have to hide in this, like, it's like a flame or whatever. Like, you have to hide in this little fiery circle or whatever. For some, I don't know why, but it doesn't even work sometimes. That's one thing. Sometimes the monster can kill you in the safe area, which is bullshit, because that just, it just shows that the game is like, it's at this point, it's like not very well put together, like before with chapter 1 and 2, you can tell that there was some level of effort put into it, but when you play chapter 3, you just feel like the quality keeps on like going down as you keep playing it, and it's really disappointing. And because I think Treyarch, it was one of those Mimic clones that could have actually had something going for it, but I don't know. I feel like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it could be the creator trying to keep up with the Mimic, trying to put out a chapter every time the Mimic did, or maybe you know what it is? I feel like Virtuation, I feel like they lost their spark or whatever, or I feel like they lost some of their passion in making this game, or making, not the game, making chapter 3. Like you can tell it could have been better if they put in more effort. Like it was lazily put together, and they just, everything that they've done before pretty much was just worse. Yeah. There's not really any improvement, to be honest, if you ask me. And oh yeah, the story that was somewhat talked about in the first chapter, there's like little to no resemblance of a story in this chapter. Like it's yeah, chapter 3 kind of sucks. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can play it with friends or whatever, but yeah, if you do play the Tree Yard, I suggest playing it with friends, because I think it'll be better if you play it with friends. But yeah, anyway, now we're on to the last chapter, chapter 4. Okay. So, let me say the good thing. The first part is somewhat aesthetically pleasing to look at, and pretty much nothing else. That's literally the only good thing I can think about. Honest, like I said the chapter 3 was somewhere on the lines of disappointing, bad, or awful. But chapter 4 is awful. It's god awful. Like I said, I'm not trying to be a hater or anything, or just completely shit on this whole game. Like I've said, chapter 1 and 2 are actually decent, I recommend playing the first 2 chapters. Just not, and maybe chapter 3 with some of your friends, but chapter 4 is so bad. It's worse than the Christmas event for Trespass. It's worse than chapter 3, which was already bad. The only thing that's worse than it is the game modes, which are, which can hardly even be considered like a game mode. But because chapter 4 at least resembles somewhat of a pace, or like it still has 3 parts, but we're about to get into that. The first part is the best by default, simply because it's the least shit. It's not the best, it's the least shit. So when the monster, if it's chasing you, it plays this loud Christmas ear rape music, which is really obnoxious and not scary at all, in my opinion. On top of that, the monster doesn't look scary. Like it looks like a Barbie doll, basically, with like a princess dress or a wedding dress or something. It's not scary, and it's all pink. Like, I don't know. I think monsters being pink doesn't always make it scary, personally. Although that's not always the case. I mean, look at Poppy's Playtime, chapter 2, with I forgot the name of the monster. It's the pink version of Huggy Wuggy. Like that's that monster was actually kind of creepy looking, or the way it acted, at least. But this monster sucked. Also, the map, while it may look aesthetically pleasing somewhat, It's very lazily put together. In all the other chapters, even chapter 3, there were some like mazes, or there was like some complex, or not complex, but there were mazes and everything. But once once the last part of chapter 3 came out, there's been nothing but straight lines for maps. Like chapter 4, part 1, it's just a straight walkway. And also, there's just floating trees, which could look cool. Like I've seen it in the games Dishonored 1 and 2, along with the DLC. But the way it's done here, it just looks like an asset that the creator forgot to like take out. Like it looks that bad, you know. On top of that, when you get to the second part's it might be the worst part of chapter 4. It's literally just a small obby. There's no music playing in the background or ambiance. It's just silence. All you hear is yourself walking and jumping. The obby is very lazily put together. I'm losing my voice. Anyway, yeah, it's very lazily put together. The entire game looks... the entire chapter 4 looks very incomplete, you know? And it really shows the more you get into chapter 4. But yeah, the obby for chapter 4 part 2, it literally takes shorter. Like it lasts shorter than the game modes in Tree Yard, the abandoned one and the Save Your Heart or whatever it's called. I don't fucking care. Like if that second part was its own thing, that would have been the worst part of the whole game. But anyway, then we get to chapter 4 part 3. I don't even like... So there's like weird out of place music that plays, whether it's just the background music or the chase music when you're getting chased by whatever the fuck the monster is. It's very odd. Also, when you open doors for the first time in that area, for some reason you have to hold E twice. I'm guessing you unlock the door and then you open it, but yeah, it just looks really weird. And also the buildings you go into, there's nothing inside except just a bunch of random lights that looked like they were placed there, and then the creator forgot to like put them up on like a wall or something. And also when you open the doors in the last part, the doorknob doesn't even move with the door. And of course the door goes in the wall. So that's great. It also does that for the first part of chapter 4 as well. But yeah. So yeah. The monster for chapter 4 is shit. It looks like a Mexican demon. I don't know if that's like racist or whatever to say. No, it's not. Fuck off. It's like it looks stupid. It looks stupid as hell, and I wish the creator took more time to do something with these chapters, or just not even put them out. But because I see potential in the game Tree Yard. Like, despite it being pretty much a Mimic clone, being very heavily inspired by the Mimic, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with having inspiration and everything, but Like, this is just lazy at this point. Like, chapter 4 is super... It's very lazy. On top of that, with chapter 4, part 3, once again, it's just a straight line. Like, there's no maze or twists and turns. All you're doing is going in a straight line. So, yeah, super lazy. You can see the edge of the map as you're walking. The monster's animation, it's when it's running or whatever, it looks like it's walking backwards when it should, because you can see the back of its head when it's running towards you, and then the back of its head when it's running away from you, which I don't think it was how the creator meant it to be. But, yeah. And then, on top of that, the monster looks weird. I know I've said it. It looks like a Mexican demon. But it's like a floating head. And then it has hands. And one of the hands is like fully like white or whatever. Looking like Michael Jackson's glove or whatever. I don't know what the thought process of making this chapter was. It's just super odd, you know? Like, I don't know what the creator was thinking. Like, it's just so... And like I said, chapter 4, it feels so, like, incomplete. Like, it feels like it was rushed out. I wish the creator... Virtuemation took some more time to create it, you know? Like I said, I can see potential in it, you know? But yeah, once you get past that monster and you beat chapter 4, part 3, you just end up at one of those random areas that tells you end of chapter or whatever. And it's super anticlimactic, but yeah. That's, yeah. You know, I'm super tired. I think it's like 3 as of recording right now. This game, talking about this game, especially the bad parts, like, make me super tired and bored. Like, I think you all should probably get the gist of it by now. Like I said, the only chapters I would recommend actually playing are 1 and 2, and maybe 3 if you're playing with friends, maybe. But I recommend skipping out on chapter 4 personally, because and again, the story, like, they completely abandoned the story, or at least maybe it's there and it's just so obscurely, like, put together that it's, like, hard to, like, pay attention to anything. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to get this out of the way because I've always thought this way and everything, and I always see videos of people, like, playing Tree Yard, like, smaller creators, you know, not as small as me, but, you know, small. And I always see the comments in their videos being like, this game's so cool and everything. And it's their opinions, I know. But yeah, I never see any, like, anyone that's, like, talking badly about Tree Yard. And I'm not saying, I don't condone death threats or anything, or, you know, like, sending private messages about, like, how you're gonna, like, do bad things to them. Like, I don't condone that. However, I do condone honest criticism, respectfully honest criticism, you know? And this is all this is. Like I want to, like I said before, he, Virtuemation, the creator of Treyarch, just kind of messed up towards the latter half of Treyarch, and yeah, like I said, I see potential in Treyarch, and I heard it's getting like remade and everything, possibly. I think there was a trailer, so yeah, hopefully, if they do make it, or whatever new game they're making, if they are making it, I hope it is an improvement over the other games. Maybe it's not even Virtuemation's fault, because I've also heard there was stuff going on around like some of the people he was working with wanting the characters that they designed to be taken out and everything, something like that. Which, if that's the case, then that sucks. But yeah, like I said, yeah, it's just kind of unfortunate, because like I see potential in the game Treyarch. Let's just yeah, let's hope that Virtuemation improves on his mistakes, and whatever let's hope he can make the best chapter or the best version of Treyarch or whatever game he's making, and let's hope that it's actually like really good, because I can see it happening. I still believe it can happen. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say for this. Yeah, shout out to Virtuemation for making Treyarch. Shout out to, I'm gonna leave a link to the person who I watched a playthrough of. I forgot his name, but yeah, he'll be in the description. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Bye.